of us are aware of the concept of fight or flight. The idea here is that when faced with danger, our brain and metabolism is built to seek one of these two choices in order to survive. Either flee the situation or eliminate it. But according to modern neuroscience, there is much more to the story of the way the human brain demonstrates stress. Let's start with the limbic system, where stimuli is processed into affective or emotional signals to be sent out to the rest of the brain. These signals could be messages of happiness and comfort, or anticipation and excitement, perhaps readiness to take a risk. And they also could be signals of fear and perception of threat. One way to think about it can be in terms of a traffic light. Green is comfortable and all systems go. Yellow could be anticipation, ready to try something new, extra attention being paid. It could also be a certain amount of tolerable anxiety. Ideally, we fluctuate between yellow and green. Self-regulation is the ability to go back to green when necessary. The color red, as in a traffic light, is the signal for danger. And much like a traffic light, all three lights cannot be on at the same time. The human brain takes a lot of energy, and it can't devote energy to all three systems at once. Let's apply these colors to areas of our brain that receive the signals. Of course, the brain isn't really separated out so strictly into these three areas, but generally speaking, these three areas are associated with specific functions. Starting with the green, the cerebrum is what makes us human. It is associated with metacognition, planning, perceiving, and interpreting. You could also say that this is the home of Bloom's cognitive domain. The color yellow represents the limbic system, which houses the amygdala. This could be seen as the emotional gateway to the rest of the brain. Emotional processing, valuing, and willingness to take risks, and especially the risk to self-assess, requires a sense of safety. This is the home of Bloom's affective domain. A certain amount of excitement and motivation in communication with the cerebrum will definitely heighten problem-solving and metacognition. From a teaching and learning point of view, these two areas working in tandem represent the ultimate conditions for taking in and analyzing new information, and evaluating the results of applying new information to novel contexts, including psychomotor contexts. You'll see that the motor cortex is nestled here. Bloom's psychomotor domain is connected to activities generated from the motor cortex. All of these systems in the brain are connected to learning new things, but the brain cannot focus on any of this when it is in survival mode. This part of the brain is the basal ganglia, which many call the reptilian brain or system, because all living creatures, including reptiles, have this. It is located very close to the brainstem, and when the amygdala sends out signals of threat, this part of the brain signals the entire body with an all-points alert preparation for survival. And when it comes to surviving situations of threat, the most likely response for modern humans is not so much fighting or fleeing, but freezing. From a UDL perspective, when we look at the three learning networks and imagine that the limbic system is in survival mode, we can see that the other two learning systems of representation and action and expression are compromised. Many of our learners have already learned to freeze when presented with situations they have previously experienced as a threat. This could be anything from a particular type of content, like fear of math, the way in which the content is presented, lots of text, social situations, like group work or stereotype threat, time restrictions and deadlines. The list is long and highly individual. From an educator point of view, choice allows the learner to navigate and increases options for self-regulation, so that the learner can practice strategies to modulate their limbic system, offering options to avoid the red zone as well as options to increase communication between the green and yellow zones. Because the UDL principle of multiple means of engagement is primarily focused on affect, it helps learners shift from anxiety associated with learning to an experience of learning that is associated with positive excitement and anticipation.